Hi, everybody. It's such a pleasure to be able to sit down with 4 other people around a table and have a conversation. It's so nice to have all of you here for this wonderful Impact Chat series presented by Samsung. We're here today to actually talk about the future of leadership, and specifically from a female perspective of not just being leaders, but what leadership is actually going to look like. So I'm so happy to have each of you here. Now, not everybody knows all of us. My name's Anita Kapoor, and I'm a host. And I would like to introduce each and every one of you to the entire world who's going to watch this and gain so much of insight and knowledge, and of course understand a little bit more about the work that each of you have done and how each of you have actually transformed yourselves and your businesses during this time. So Leanne Robers, co-founder of She Loves Tech. Now it says here, and of course my jaw just dropped when I read this, world's largest startup competition and accelerator program committed to building an ecosystem for technology, entrepreneurship, and innovation that creates opportunities for women. The world's largest startup, the person who started it up is right next to me.
We're very proud of it.
Yeah, as you should be. It's amazing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a few short moments. Iroshini Chua. Now, Iroshini, we've met many times. It's very rare for me to actually have a conversation with you because we're sort of like ships passing in the night, right?
That's right.
And Iroshini is the medical director at Dr. Kevin Chua Medical Anesthetics. You're always at the forefront of bringing the latest medical innovations to all of your patients.
Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you here. Paige, we've known each other for years, and we know that you are the author of your memoir. I love the title of this. Don't call me Mrs. Rogers. I will now know never to call you Mrs. Rogers. You're a philanthropist also, apart from being an author, and you're on the board for various organizations, including United Women Singapore and Singapore Dance Theatre.
Yes.
And I know you do so much more than that, but we only had enough space for that over here, right? And Sabrina Tan, founder and CEO of Skin Inc., a homegrown beauty tech company that has gone absolutely global with 200 stores around the world. Yeah. Crazy. And I love so many of your products.
Thank you.
I just want to take a deep breath, everybody, at this point, and just exhale. It's been a crazy 6 months, right?
Totally.
How's everybody feeling?
Oh,
transformed
a lot.
Yeah.
It's been one of those things where I feel like all of us here have survived it well, and so many haven't, and so that weighs on you. But it also is a time where I think we're all so grateful because during that hard reset that we talked about, we were able to really think about what's important. And we are talking about tech today, and I do feel like a silver lining has been tech because of it, we've been able to continue to exist and work and do.
I absolutely agree with you. The silver lining is tech, but then there's the other side of it is the availability of it, and I know that we're going to have a great conversation about that as well.
And the transformation of it.
Transformation of that. But let's set the stage a little bit because COVID-19 is still present. It's not going away in a hurry. I know there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes to develop a vaccine, and we're practicing social distancing. All of us are nicely social distanced now as well. But let's talk about the pandemic and how it's actually affected your work. Now, I know the popular term of 2020 is to pivot, and all of us agree that pivot is not our word. I know we have other ways of describing this that I feel that really encapsulate what the moment has been for all of us. And it's just felt like a moment in which suddenly everything changed. Sabrina, how did you cope really with the initial closure of your retail stores? You have 200 across the world and in the US as well.
Yeah, so I first started dealing with COVID in January. I narrowly escaped China. I was in Shenzhen before they locked down in the major cities. So it has been a long 6 months dealing from China to US and then in Asia itself. So with the 200 plus store, close, and we don't know for how long during that time. The word to me is reboot. Reboot how you can, being as a leader as well as how you are going to cope with, a very uncertain future. But it has been a journey in a sense where all your strength and all your might has come through, resiliency has come through. And I find it pretty inspiring to really identify those strengths with my team members and how they are able to be creative And when we were so uncertain of the future, when the store closed, a silver lining came because we were born digital from day one. So
Yeah.
as you know, skinning, you can customize your serum on iloveskinning.com, so you can decode your skin identity. During that time, we thought, oh, but it's going to be tough road ahead. But the surprising thing is we grew 400% online. So we more than cover and compensate of the store closure.
Yeah.
And we actually had a record quarter in the history of Skin Inc.
I'm hearing that quite a lot from people who had businesses that were online already, in the sense online and digitalized, or, technology was being used, and you crowdsource your information. And it's individualistic, but I know I've used it, and it's incredible. And you just get your results, and you know something about your own skin and your own self in like seconds, literally. But I think for those who didn't have that step into, already into technology, it's kind of perhaps been a bit of a different experience, Iroshini, because the work that you do it's absolutely about the face-to-face. So how did you transform?
Okay. So for us in Kevin Chua Medical and Aesthetics, we do medical and we do aesthetics. Now, in medicine, it's a lot about history taking and physical examination, first of all. Now, if you had told me 10 years ago that I could do this virtually from my home, I would have laughed, right? But what we've had to do is, so communication platforms is the key. We adapted to using Doctor Anywhere, which is a platform, it's teleconsulting, and we saw all our medical care patients that way. And my husband and I were working 10 to 12 hours a day because there's no switch off button. Whoever calls, you see them. And we saw like 100 to 120 patients a day. And in the last 3 months, we've seen thousands and thousands of patients just from home during the lockdown.
Now, because everybody has access to you more than they actually had access to you before.
Yes, because the communication platforms have been thrust forward now, and we've had to adapt to a new way of seeing patients. And our whole team are in on it, on how to see the patients online. Even if somebody comes physically to the clinic and they are not an acute case, we can still be at home and call in, and the staff will connect us, and we can see the patients that way. So
it's felt like for those who've had to transform their businesses and work more with technology and online, I keep hearing this echoed from everybody that I'm actually working longer hours,
Yes.
and it's more intense. Or if I'm working less hours, it's actually even more intense.
that's right, exactly.
Yeah, it's
So
like-
for medical patients, because our business was mainly aesthetics, now we see a lot more medical cases online through teleconsulting.
Yeah.
In phase 2, when we can again see patients face to face, yes, we are seeing our aesthetic patients, but I think teleconsulting is here to stay.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's wonderful also because you can do it in your pajamas.
Yep, I did it at the beach yesterday.
There you go. I think it's actually the way that we work is completely transformed now,
Yeah.
because we now see, all of us see that there's another way to work. We can still do the same work, but we can do it from anywhere, right?
Absolutely.
Paige, you do, so much fundraising. Now that process also, it requires you to be on the ground, face to face, identifying the needs. So how did you actually adapt as well?
Well, I'll talk specifically about dance theater, Singapore Dance Theater, and United Women Singapore, and both rely on fundraising events to raise most of their money, and grants. And NAC has been very, very generous. But in order to make ends meet for the year, we had to figure out how we were going to fundraise. And for Singapore Dance Theater, we are doing a virtual fundraiser, and we decided to keep it short and sweet. And we will have the dancers perform 2 pieces. We have Hosian Long is going to host it. We have Lynette Xia from SSO, who's going to be right in the middle. Grace Fu is going to be our guest of honor. And we're going to send champagne and chocolates to everyone attending. And short, sweet, and we've raised over $200,000 with this.
Yeah.
So it will make it so that we don't have to let any dancers go. We'll be able to, break even for the year. So that has worked.
That's something I wanted to ask about as well, because the performance industry, artists, dancers, actors, everybody's been out of work for such a long time. I mean, the fact that you bring everybody together it's not just the fundraising, is it? It's actually everyone getting an opportunity to do the work that they love,
Yes.
but also having to do it in this new environment.
Yes.
I saw a dance company, and the name escapes me at the moment, but what they actually did was they had 8 dancers, and each of them took a Zoom screen. And each of them was a different bit of the body of the dance. And it was incredible to watch. I just was so amazed because they had used it so beautifully.
Yeah.
And it made you just want to watch more and to get to know them more.
Yeah. Dance Theater did something very similar where they all did different segments of it, and then we put the piece together, and so we were able to put that out there. They also started teaching classes online, and people were donating through SG Giving, giving.sg. And so we've been able to raise money that way. And with United Women Singapore, we have 2 big events. And one is going to be virtual. SNOW, which is Say No to the Oppression of Women, the gala, normally raises several $100,000. And it's how we fund, our benefiters. And that will be virtual. Our auction will go online. And then for Buy to Save, which is where we sell pre-loved clothes, that is going to go online with an online retailer here who's going to partner with us. So we're finding ways.
Yeah.
And that's you just have to.
I kind of feel like it was, it was like a little bump in the road where everybody had to just adjust, really, like, oh, how can I take this? And then the benefit of actually being online is that you have a greater customer base. You have the world, really, who is able to see what you do and how you do it. And of course, it's initially, I think the inertia is the exhaustion. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of people out there. Technology is really enabling people to reach one another and to reach you as well in your capacities. Leanne, how has this affected your outreach programs?
Well, I'm going to be really honest with you. At the beginning, it was really hard. She Loves Tech has primarily, for the last 5 or 6 years, been a series of in-person events. So we do our primary product is really our startup competition, but then we do mentoring, we do workshops and trainings and conferences, and these are all very much in person.
Yeah.
And so what had happened was when COVID hit, first big problem for us, impossible to do in-person events globally for the year. The second problem that really hit us was like Paige, we rely a lot on sponsorship. And our corporate sponsors had their budgets all cut. And so that really was very challenging for us. And so many people actually asked us whether we were going to cancel She Loves Tech for the year. And I think it would have been easy for us to do so.
Yeah.
And nobody
Just
would have faulted
less hassle,
us.
right? And less
Exactly.
stress
And
because
take a
less
break,
energy spent. And because
Yeah.
live events, I mean, I do a lot of them as well. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of skill that goes into it. So many people are involved.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
So we actually used it as a really unique opportunity to grow even further. So we had been in 20 countries last year, and this year we just announced that we're going to be operational in over 30 countries all around the year, or all around the world.
That's amazing.
And technology, being virtual, going online really allowed us to do that. So this is the first year ever that we are in all continents. Wait, except for Antarctica. So until lady penguins learn how to build businesses, then we will be in all continents. But we're so proud of it, and being completely virtual has allowed us to reach even more entrepreneurs worldwide than we could ever have done before. And that's something that really has excited us.
We talked about Zoom, and we talked about a lot of the conferencing tools, but we're holding in our hands a tool that actually allows any particular person who is the end user, really the person who's going to receive the benefit, or hear about a fundraiser, or know more about Skin Inc., or have a consultation, or attend one of your events. It actually all happens through handheld devices. And I think that's the other thing, the time we always knew handheld devices were like leading and ruling our lives, but now it's become even more meaningful because it's not just a form of communication, but it's a form of intimacy even.
Yeah.
You know, it's taking us much closer to the things that we actually love.
So right.
Yeah.
You know, while we were not communicating, it was so nice to see, because we have a very remote team, so it was really nice to see all our team members from all over the world on Zoom, on Microsoft Teams, and all of these platforms, and really build that inclusive culture. So it's been an interesting journey and transformative journey for us.
And also there's also the fatigue, right? I mean, we spend
yeah.
a lot of time online, which is kind of a bit different. I mean, when we're sitting around, I think the energy exchange is a very different thing from making an energy exchange with an image of somebody who's got a virtual background that they keep disappearing into. You know, it's a little bit different. We have to almost adjust the way that we manage our energy as well. You know, you were talking about earlier how you were working such long hours, and you know how you're doing even more when you're online. I think we still have to have that sort of digital hygiene habits, right? Where the end is the end. You know,
And
just because it's there doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah, and medically speaking, being exposed to screen time, so much of it is it's damaging the skin because blue light penetrates deeper than UVA and UVB. So me being in front of a screen for 12 hours is far worse than me sitting in the sun for that amount of time.
Yeah.
Because it goes deeper, it affects the collagen and the elastin. So one of the things that we did in our practice was do packages of products, because Kevin and I have also an aesthetic line, skincare, and we introduced ingredients that would actually fight the blue light and increase your collagen.
So while I'm having a Zoom chat, and if I use your products, I'm multitasking, basically. I'm building my collagen, I'm fighting all the stuff that's coming off the screen. This is great. You know what?
For the eyes.
Yeah, but the
It
eyes. A
strains
lot
the
of people
eyes.
have actually talked about eye strain. Wow, what have you got there?
Right. So
I'm going to take that.
This is a very symbiotic relationship.
that's right. From the data that we collected, about 1 million over that we have around the world, we actually spent 2 more hours during this pandemic because of screen time, and that means your eyes going to be really tired, and with the mask wear, all attention is going to be on your eye. So this is how we actually look into this innovation of red LED, yellow LED, and orange, where it really helps you to just NTH all your work, you know, with this, and it's sort of like, oh, the future is bright.
Okay, hang on a second. So do you use this on your calls?
Yes.
You
Actually,
do?
my whole team members, like if we have a Zoom party, we actually wear this together.
Really?
For a cocktail and stuff. And we're going to do our biggest party for 30 moms end of this month. With
And
this.
everyone's wearing these, yeah.
I have seen her on Zoom calls wearing this, so I can testify to that.
And also, it has also sort of connect us with our customer, that the team and myself has gone on IG Live, Facebook Live, really connecting the community on all aspects, not just necessarily about skin, but how are we feeling on our well-being, how we are transforming and taking care of ourselves. And the self-care is really, you know, Leanne actually was really doing her facial
I
with
would
the
do my
LED
facial with the skinning products while on Zoom calls, and I love it. And you know, we were talking about this earlier, that it just has given, being here and not traveling, right, just has given us so much space to create routines, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
while in the past, I just wouldn't have, you know, sometimes don't take that good care of my skin, but being here and being able to have those routines that I can use skinning products every single day, I feel like a skinning ambassador, but I can, but I can use their products every day, or use the products I usually use, has really helped.
I think it's, you know, the whole, what has happened, everything just slowed down, didn't it? And all of the things that we thought were important, we've had to have a big reckoning with those things and to look at them. And then, of course, the things that we never had time for before, whether it is self-care, whether it's time with your children, or time of your cooking, you know. all of these things started to come up, you know, and in varying ways, these are all our ways in which to cope with the uncertainty and trying to find things that are soothing, actually. I think that's really it. I gotta say though that, you know, you guys are talking about your eye strain and all of that, but I'm holding this here. This is massive. This is so good. There is no eye strain going on at all here. I am so happy because I spent quite a lot of time also, you know, transforming the work that I do and having to stare a lot at screens and realizing that the energy and the way I use my energy on a stage is so different from actually staring into a screen. So it's very, very beneficial when you're holding something that's as big as this, that I'm not straining my eyes at all. But I could easily do this whole conversation wearing one of those devices. You know?
That's what I have a meeting this afternoon. I'm definitely going to take it.
But we should have done it with that.
Yeah. Do you know what I love is that it's 2 screens.
Yes.
So because we are multitaskers, we're on this meeting here, but we need to do something else over here.
Exactly.
And so that's what I like.
It's super, super unique.
And I love that it can stand because I don't know about you, but sometimes I've had to have whole Zoom calls holding my phone.
Yes.
You know, I ended up getting a stand for it, but like with this, right, you can just put it there, and then as Paige said, right, you can have multiple screens at the same time.
And I think this is why, you know, a flip like this is so exciting to actually have in a device, because it's something that we experienced at the very beginning of when we first saw mobile phones, but it's never been like this. So
it's never been cool.
And it's never been cool.
Now it's
This is cool. This is really cool. Okay, that's taking me to my next questions with all of you to talk about the importance of digital fluency. And I think we know from global statistics now that women are unfortunately, disproportionately at risk with the ongoing digital transformation in many parts of the world. I mean, I think, you know, we're sitting in a city that is extremely connected, and the possibility of having a handheld device is greater than in many other parts of the world, so we need to address that. And this data actually comes from the IMF that projects that 11% of jobs currently held by women are at risk of elimination as a result of this transformation and moving into digital technologies in an even greater way than ever before. And a higher percentage of this for jobs that women hold versus what men hold. So is there a way that we can bridge that tech divide?
I think it's so interesting because COVID has really upended certain industries. So some industries are more impacted, and unfortunately they are disproportionately made up of women. So the hospitality industry, the retail industry, and you know what we're really seeing is that technology, you know, has become so important to transform the way that these women are creating new opportunities. So I see it really in 3 big areas. The first one that I see this really changing and where technology really comes and plays a part is remote work opportunities. So there's a great organization in India called Shiros. And they are a platform that that they onboard 20 over million women in India for remote work opportunities.
How do they actually get to the remote work opportunities? Are they actually also empowering women with devices? Technology devices? Yeah,
They definitely are. So that has created, you know, they have to teach these women how to use the technology devices, you know, give them trainings to help them, to let them do the work remotely, do the work from home. So the other area that we really see is in the retail space and specifically social commerce, where we're really seeing that women can be micro entrepreneurs. And
Totally.
right?
So right now, my whole team, we sort of reskill and other reimagine retail is with the customer is anytime I have transformed my team, retail managers, to be content creator. So right now they are able to do their own how-to video tutorial and send it to your customer to guide them along their skin journey.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
that brings you much closer. You develop greater relationships and you really begin to intimately understand the needs.
Yes.
And that information then, you can also crowdsource that information for the kind of benefit of the products and services,
yeah,
right?
so we call them the beauty concierge and telebeauty.
Yeah,
In a
telebeauty, I
sense,
like that.
They have been really much closer with their VIP customer. At the same time, become a brand evangelist of their own authentic skin story.
Yeah.
And I think that is perfect.
Yeah.
Women empowering women. And women encouraging women and women holding other women up. I mean, I think we're very, very good at that. Not that men aren't, guys. You're very good too. But I think we're just great. Just gotta get it out
I
there.
agree with that.
We have to work harder at it.
We have to work harder at it. But I think we have ways in which we're able to reach out and connect. And I think a lot of that has to do with an inborn empathy, resilience that most women grow up with, or it's inculcated in the work that we do and the lives that we lead. Iroshini, in your company as well, you're specifically seeking to empower the women in your company. How are you doing that?
So in our clinic, we've always been paperless. So all the information, the medical notes have always been paperless. We've been using, there has been a lot of technology that we've harnessed for the clinic already. So our staff are quite digitally savvy, I would say. And right now with the COVID-19, we have a lot of forms to fill for the government, and we have to access some of their websites. So we sit together as a team, and our team is mainly women actually.
Yes.
Yeah, and these are mothers, of young kids, and they're in this environment where this is what they have to do to move forward with the times. And especially with COVID-19, there has been, we've had to huddle up and talk about what their weak areas are in terms of technology. But I've seen a lot of tremendous effort from them, and I've seen, like you said, they are more tech savvy in social media sharing now.
That's right.
That I didn't see that before. So we empower each other by educating them, and a lot of teamwork.
I think it's also about teaching one another, isn't it? I think
Exactly.
when you foster great communications and you break down barriers and walls, for example, doing teaching videos, it's not a top-down approach. It's lateral. It's like we're all equals in this, and actually we really are. And I'm gonna help you along. And it also then creates community and a kind of a spirit that I think is really missing from the world in general. So
It's had that chance for us to become bond and gel together better, and that's definitely a silver lining.
You also allow women leaders to be vulnerable. I think that the key word is not having the expectation of knowing it all.
Yeah. Oh
being
my
the
God,
leader.
that popped into my head just now. One of the biggest lessons was I don't have all the answers,
Yes.
and it's okay.
And I think with the team, they sort of see a more human side of you. You're not a machine, but you actually are learning alongside with us. And I might not know it all, but let's navigate this through together as a team.
Yeah.
And with that, they sort of I have definitely grown a lot closer to my team, and it's mostly women during this time. And we help one another because some of them had kids, and working from home is definitely one of the hardest things. We are good at multitasking, but having kids running around when you're doing a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So it's just to assure them it's fine. It's okay to be not perfect during this time.
That's so
and let's just
interesting.
progress together.
Because I think, I think about that as well, how COVID has really humanized us in some way, that, we have brought our work into our home, right? And our work life and our home life are just being blended. And so previously, if you were to be on a call at home, remember that BBC interview?
Yes.
To be on a call at home and have your kids walk in, it was a big no-no. But now we're being introduced to your kids, we're being introduced to your home, we're being
Absolutely.
introduced to your spouse.
And sometimes by accident.
Yes.
I still love when someone just walks past in a call at the back. I'm like,
Hopefully
wow.
clothed.
Yeah, usually clothed. I mean, there's been a few of those as well.
I think that it's been a challenge for many women because they've now that they're at home, they can't escape for the Zoom call. And they're having to do work. They're having to run the house. They're having to be the teacher for the children who are doing home-based learning.
Absolutely.
So I empathize and I hear what you're saying, but I do know that I've heard from a lot of mothers, working moms, that it has been a very challenging time.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that as well, because I think for every bright side, we have to address a shadow as well. You know, there's been a rise in a lot of different types of things happening in the home that are actually really negative. You know, there have been statistics that have come out, which is mental wellness, you know, is a big area. There
Increase
is
in domestic violence.
domestic violence. You know, there's a lot of things that have come out of this that are not just all hearts and flowers, and you know, because everyone is truly going through a major change, but also a lot of pressure to how do you now divide up your home? You know, everything is happening in the same space. I think that's something that always we have to remain in the back of our heads as entrepreneurs and as leaders. It's how are we going to really not just empower everyone that we know, but everyone.
But the upside is women who couldn't get jobs before because they wanted to work from home, perhaps there's a future for them to find work now.
There is a lot, and I think it's just really about people also making the access to everything accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
do you know that 740 million women are informally employed? So it's really created so much opportunities for remote work, for contingent work that's never been done before.
And also relaxing what work means and how do you work and what laws govern the kind of work that you do as well, because I think sometimes laws in countries govern the work by saying, oh, that's illegal. Well, I mean, I don't know what's illegal anymore unless it's, you know, really illegal. You know, we're all doing different kinds of work, and I think it needs to be sort of recognized on a global scale. You say informally working, but actually it's still work, right? Yeah. So we're gonna work on that one, guys. Paige, I want to ask you about the Girls to Pioneer program. I want you to share a little bit more about that.
Sure. This also needs a lot of work. Do you know that in university, 56% of women study science, while you have, and then once you get to IT and engineering, it goes down to about 30 to 35% are women in that field. And then when they get out and they actually start practicing, you have only 26% of women going into STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. So in 2004, United Women Singapore said, we need to start a program to educate our young women in secondary school about STEM fields. And so we started Girls to Pioneers, and the way we did it is through camps, on-site visits, mentorship, and of course we can't do those things now. So we are doing webinars and online for our mentorship now, and STEM itself has gone online, STEM at home. We're just trying to move the bar there, because especially in Singapore, where you have science and math, double science, everybody is doing that. But then the girls don't come out of the schools and go into STEM fields. So that's the goal with Girls to Pioneers.
I'm from the tech for 11 years, so first job in IBM and Hewlett Packard. I guess it's just a mindset change of marrying, like for me, marrying tech with beauty, right? Softening the whole skill set, because technology is an integral part of our business. It can never be, oh, by the way, I think of tech later on. It has to be how it's part of life right now. And especially with tech, that's how I truly think Skinning survive, because we are able to look at data and continue the business despite the store being closed. So in that sense, I truly encourage this mindset shift, because I grew up in a tech environment for so long.
Yeah.
And yeah, because of female leaders, that has led me to believe that I can lean in and, you know, put value on the table. That mindset shift is so important.
But it also, I think, has to start younger in the school system. That whole, you know, they just need to be digitally literate. And it's not happening early enough in the school system here. During the home-based learning, all of the children needed computers to work at home. And so I just learned about this nonprofit called Engineering Good. And they came together and got 4,000 secondhand computers and got them out to children, disadvantaged children, so that they could have computers in their homes.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to start that younger. And also, I think the way that we talk to girls in the school system, it's incredibly important that we not, call on the boy instead of the girl, not defer to the male, not tell the girls to be nice, to tell the girls they are smart. It all starts very young, and so that they believe they can do the STEM subjects.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think,
has-
yeah,
sorry.
please.
To elaborate on that, I think it has to start at home, so you don't have gender bias at home. Why are the boys sent for coding classes and not the girls?
Yeah.
Why are they the ones playing the video games? So to educate the
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Paige, I have a great
Absolutely.
story for you. So, because She Loves Tech, we champion women in tech and women building tech businesses. And we've been in Pakistan for the last 4 years. And last year, during our finals in Pakistan, it was a great event, and wonderful women, right, who are building all these great technologies were on stage. And I had young girls come up to me after the event. She said, we grew up thinking that technology was just for the boys. And now, because we've seen these women on stage building such wonderful and innovative technologies, that she now knows that she can also select a career in technology. And we need that. We need those role models.
Absolutely. I think it's also about identifying that, if we want accessibility, if we want young girls, young women to have accessibility to everything that we have had the benefit of, then we have to think about it in a very broad and in a very deep way. You brought up the story about providing devices, laptops for children in need. And I think this is something that we have to be working a little harder at, making digital devices, technological devices available, affordable, and also working hard to make sure that everyone's got the same choices. Because what divides really is how some may get it and some don't get it, but actually everybody might have the same ability. So what's happening here is just really that, you can't afford it, so therefore you don't have access to it, and so therefore you don't walk forward. I think we have to remove that and make things really accessible for everyone. And what does everyone mean? Whether whether your parents have high-flying paying jobs, or your parents are hawkers, or your parents are not able, you're a single mom, or you're a single dad, or whatever it is, there should be still the availability and the desire for all of us to want to empower everybody so that everyone gets an equal chance at it. I think that's what it is, and apart from influencing or inspiring, it's like, what's the action that's actually available? Whether it's bringing your wonderful platform to Pakistan, or whether it's being able to reach a wider cross-section of clientele, whether it's going to each and every single school and saying, this is how you should be talking to girls. This is not how you talk to girls. You're not talking to girls right. You're going to change this. Because we have to make that action count, right? And whether it's for a skin brand, which at the end of skincare brand, at the end of the day, people might see this as, it's a lifestyle product, but actually you're changing people's lives. And now you're able to change lives in an even greater way. And I think that means we have a greater, deeper responsibility to respect and encourage and incorporate more people into the world.
So what happened with our last two innovation was because of the data that what our customer has input last year. And we call it the mask knee. Because we're constant wearing masks, our hot breath has a perfect breeding ground for bacteria, and we get clogged pores and pimples. And all the students in teenage, we both are teenagers, you're seeing the breakouts all along, the mouth area and the inflammation. This is why, data, by marrying data and tech, it helps to impact lives. Not necessarily just my customer audience, right, but people with real skin issue.
Yeah,
and that we call the mask knee. That's
Yeah.
how you can create innovation to impact lives.
Real life needs.
It's true. Coming from a medical perspective, the patients who turn up at my office, some of them are doctors because they've been in N95 mask, and it's massive breakout, and you can see the demarcation of the mask.
Yeah.
So usually what we could do we have to now do with medically and with skin products, topically or orally, to manage this massive breakout. And I've had people literally be in tears in my office
Yeah.
because of this acne flare-up. It's real, the distress that they cause, and there's no way around it. You have to wear your mask.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the trauma around here, this area, it just caused migraine. And for my girl in the retail store, they have to wear the mask constantly. And that truly inspired me to research deeper. And we're coming out with a mask liner that sort of reduce the pressure as well as the acne around it.
Fantastic. I
Yeah,
love
That's
that.
amazing.
I'm looking forward to that. I want to talk now about the future. I mean, I don't know that we can predict anything anymore, you know, except our own goodwill and the goodwill of everybody else, and of course the work that we're doing to encourage and incorporate as many different people into the fold. But let's talk about it really from a very practical point of view. You know, Samsung's products, really, their foldable category, is how they have sought to actually envision the future. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of tech, isn't it? And it's so easy to use. How do you envision your industry? Because there's so much. This year, since December, the true meaning of the word disruption has actually shown itself. You know, that's such a industry word, right? It's a corporate word. Oh, disrupt this, disrupt that. Well, it's happened. So it's real. So we have to have organic responses and real-time responses. So how do you envisage your industry has been disrupted, and how it's going to keep up to date with all these new technologies on the rise? Leanne, would you like to begin?
Yeah, so, well, like what you said, I don't think I fully really can claim that I know how the future will look like. But what we do know is that She Loves Tech is championing women who are building a new generation of innovation, a new generation of technology that will change the way that we work. And at She Loves Tech, we really believe that without women, we cannot solve the world's greatest challenges.
Absolutely. I want to ask this question of you, Paige, really. How do you feel technology helps with the gender parity at the head of the table?
Well, I mean, the access, obviously. Women are able to have access exactly like men. And so I think that that would be the most obvious answer there.
Yeah, because all these technologies are on the rise. There's lots of availability, and I think access is a very, very key thing. People need to be able to have access to be able to see that world that otherwise would be just cut off to so many in this world. And I think it's not just the young, it's actually also our elders as well. You know, it opens up a whole new world in another age category. And I think throughout COVID-19, a lot of older people who have been able to gain access, have actually had their eyes opened to worlds that they didn't have access to actually before.
Well, like the girl who you met in Pakistan, the young women who are going through the STEM program. I mean, it's education, and it's them hopefully changing that statistic of 26% of science and engineering majors actually going into STEM fields. Yeah. And to change, that's the only way that the gender parity is going to change, is if more women go into tech. And I mean, sitting here with you all, I'm very optimistic.
I think there's another side of it as well, which is, we think of technology as unbiased. We think of, technologies like artificial intelligence, like machine learning as gender neutral. But actually what we're seeing is, it's really, if your input is already biased, your outcomes are going to be biased. So for example, Amazon had this big thing where in 2014, they created an online AI recruiting tool. But because their AI was trained with CVs from white men, so they were recommending then, of course, CVs just of white men, and they eventually had to scrap it. So I think that technology can really eliminate bias, but you have to do it intentionally, and you have to be very careful.
Sabrina, I think that's what skinning does. You eliminate the bias at a counter, perhaps. Somebody looking at me going, I think you might look like you need this. This is me putting my info in and eliminating
to co-create
that bias.
a product that you truly believe, it is suiting to your lifestyle and the environmental stress at that point in time, and it constantly evolves with your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do when we touch on AI is the part where assess and how we're going to put the tech out there, and even though you are remotely in any part of the world, the tech is able to feed data back to our skin check, and so that we can be a remote beauty consultant to you, any part of the world. Yeah.
Iroshini, are you seeing technology also empowering your team and the women who sit on your team? And is there a lot of issues with, I don't know how to put this politely, but in the world in which you are in, which is the medical world,
Yes.
how would you describe the gender balance?
Well, okay.
Is this
That's
a whole
little-
1 hour conversation?
loaded question, but
And when, and then let's marry that together with whether technology is actually helping to balance that out for you.
okay, well, let's talk about medicine in general, not aesthetics, but medicine. In Singapore, there was a gender quota for women to get into medicine, which was abolished by the Association of Women Doctors previously. So we are starting at a very good state where everyone has the opportunity to do medicine. There is, I think right now the statistics, if I'm not wrong with Dukes, is that women might have slightly taken over the men's quota. Yeah, there's no more quota. I mean, yeah, the number wise. So, yeah, men and women are on equal footing to do medicine. And would technology help us? I think, yeah, I think right now it's going to be about skill. So it doesn't matter who's behind that screen if you're talking about teleconsulting, as long as you've got the knowledge and the skill and you're tech savvy, it's we're both on the same page,
Yeah.
whether we're men or women. And for medicine, I can see that maybe we might even do remote operations or procedures.
Yeah.
And the electronic medical records from wherever you are, whichever hospital or clinic you've been to, might all be migrated to one.
Yeah, and one place,
Place.
right? And no matter how remote,
Yeah.
as long as you have access to a point at which you can actually go and input this information, because it comes down to that. If I'm
Exactly.
living in a really remote town, does it mean that I won't get access to the same kind of, let's say, medical service, for example? And I think there's a big move to actually digitalize that
Yeah.
around the world, really.
We definitely see that in medicine over the last 5-10 years. It's
Yeah.
very different to what it was before.
Absolutely. And I think for gender parity, of course, also it's about, as you said, there are things that are actually formulated based on the structures and the physiology of men. And now, with more access and the ability to actually have that information, research, the development of products, services, cures, all of that, we'll have a greater balance between, I think, men and women as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Even procedures, I think we can do remotely, and if we can do that,
Yeah.
then that. Why are all the orthopedic surgeons men? Because they just are structurally just stronger, to handle that. But if we can do remote operations, then there's no more question about whether you're a woman or a man to be an orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to be able to actually do a panel discussion where I don't have to say women entrepreneurs, women leaders, women of the future, because we really are equal. It's just that there are things I think that sit in the way of many women, as we've discussed earlier, of actually accessibility to a lot of the information and the influences, and the immersion as well. And now, actually, with technology, we're really going to be able to immerse the entire world in great things.
And until we have parity, you need to continue to say, female woman every single time you can to get the
I
the
agree
message.
with you, Paige.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in many ways for me, it's a bit like, it's like a no-brainer, right? I mean, come on, right? But I realize that every time I want to not say that, I still have to say that, because if you're going to, you know, help to get more girls into tech and into stem cell research in the future and so forth, you're going to have to say, actually, the reason that she's not doing it is because no one asked her, no one spoke to her in a way that would set her brain alight and say, well, actually, I want to do that, you know? I think, yeah, it's about that. I think it's about both hard and soft skills. What the world has actually lacked a lot is the soft skills. And that's where I think it's not just women, but men who are also feminists that can actually bring about a greater change, and we start actually really working together. I have a final question, important piece of advice, which I'd like to end with from each and every one of you, that has served you well in your journey of life thus far. Could I begin with you, Sabrina?
Sure. In my profile, IG profile, I put myself to introduce myself as strong finisher, because I always think it's more important to finish strong than to start well. And putting the end in mind sort of fix your vision and continue to encourage you and to spur you on when things get really hard, you know. And because of that radical leap of faith to start skinning, and when I look at skinning 11 years ago, it's like, what is that? You know, customizing online. And truly, COVID has sort of accelerated the whole vision that we can truly be a global digital tech brand in beauty. So I'm not saying my fight is over. It just got easier and easier to convince everyone. You have to go online. You can customize anywhere. You can, you know, enable and empower women around the world without being there physically. So with that, I want to remind everyone, yes, it's important to start something, but more importantly is to finish well. And that calls for courage, resiliency, as well as purpose. Yeah.
Well said.
Paige?
Before I go into kind of my my two favorite mantras, I wanted to talk about, you were talking about the future earlier, and I just wanted to put in that I think that during this time, it's been so reassuring to find, yet again, I traveled around the world, I have a Guinness record for doing that. I came home and I thought, people are good. And after this, I have the same sense, because so many people have stepped forward, so many people have tried to help, even if in small ways. And that has made me feel so good about humankind. My two mantras, the first is, this too shall pass. Because I constantly, you know, we're always feeling overwhelmed with something, and we have to know that it's going to pass and it's going to get better and you're going to survive. And the other is, do you, be you, do you, for you. And I know it's trite and I know it's overused, but if you really think about that, especially young women, they're always trying to be someone else. They're always trying to do what they think is right. They're always trying to fit in the mold, and don't do it. Listen to your heart, follow what you believe, and you're going to find the right path and you're going to be happy as a result.
Well said.
Very good.
Iroshini?
For me, I would think that, I would say, do something that you love and you do it well. So building relationships is very important to me. I don't look at a client or a patient or a staff or whoever you work with in whatever capacity. I look at building relationships, because you have to be genuine, you have to be generous in spirit, and when you do your work, that will translate to helping others. So at the end of the day, you will say, you know what, I spent my day really well.
Very nice. Very nice. Leanne, you're rounding it off for us.
I know.
Come on.
Lots of pressure. You know, there was a time in my life that I was my harshest critic. I constantly felt not good enough. I was so hard on myself. And then a friend of mine said, you know, Leanne, until you learn to love and respect yourself, how can you expect others to love and respect you? And that got to me. That really changed my opinion of how I saw myself. And I learned to love myself. I learned to respect myself. I learned to celebrate my successes. I learned to be kinder to myself when I stumbled. And in doing so, it freed up so much inner space to allow me to grow and to allow me to define success for myself instead of letting others define success for me.
Absolutely, that's beautiful. I feel like I've learned so much from each and every one of you today. And you know, I always believe in synchronicity, that people come together because there's something that we can all learn from one another. And each of the things that you have spoken about that are close to your heart, and also the you know, how you feel about technology and where it can go. For me, there's just such a positive and empowering feeling, an inclusive feeling, because I think one of the things that's missing from this world is we talk a lot about inclusivity, but what is that really? It's being able to actually create space enough for many different types of people, many different types of languages, abilities, earning capacities, skin color, sexualities, whatever it is, it's making enough space. And for me, the lesson today is that there are 4 women sitting here who are creating major space for many, many people. And I feel really, really blessed to have been able to have this conversation with you. I'm just going to say that what I've learned is that I will stay curious. I can't know everything, and I don't know everything. And so as a result of that, if I can stay curious, the more that I can learn, and hopefully that empowers me to create and do more things in this world as well. So I want to thank you all so much for having this wonderful conversation with me today. It's been a wonderful, 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 warm, loving. All I can think about now is actually going home, putting on my pajamas, wearing one of these, and wanting to like save the world and help the world right now.
Your superhero cape.
Absolutely, that's a superhero cape. And I wish you all really so much fortitude and luck and resilience, and that all of the things that you are doing, that you will continue to do, and that you'll put all that action behind it, so that there are many other people who will follow, and generations as well to follow as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.